Welcome to It's Happening. My name is Jared. On today's episode, I'm going to pull up something Tucker did on X and play it and discuss it. But before I do that, I want to pull up a couple of videos over on TikTok. The reason I'm doing that is because it goes with the episode from yesterday. It adds on to the same thoughts that I was giving on yesterday on how much are we going to allow, as we the people, the government, to just continually destroy this country. A lot of us act like it isn't happening, or we blame the other person. We call them bigots. We call them whatever name we could think of because we do not want to admit to ourselves that both parties in our country can't stand it. None of us. They want power and control, and that's about as obvious as it gets. I showed y'all yesterday and went over multiple things that police officers are doing, Border Patrol agents are doing. They've got a new documentary out on Nickelodeon, oh man, that's been molesting children for years. And everybody knew about it, I mean, crazy times, it really is. So let me just show you what's going on. I wish I would have did the episode a little bit later yesterday because right after I finished, all this came up. But that's okay. I'm going to show you guys right now. Check this out. This is Biden's border bloodbath for you. And when he used the term bloodbath, we can too. Check this out. All right, this is over on TikTok. This is
You just got the full
Sunny_1 sunshine and sunflowers on TikTok. This guy here, I think it's One American News. I can't remember. I think that's the name of it. I think it's on his hat. He is doing a series called Law and Border. Check this out.
full border experience. We're down here shooting our next episode of Law and Border. We came up on 60 to 70 illegals that have been sitting there all day. Basically, Border Patrol said they didn't have time to deal with them. And as we're coming out, this happened. So I'm actually in the back of a Border Patrol car right now. As we're coming back filming the invasion of our country, we're actually stopped by Border Patrol and law enforcement. They're bringing each one of us out of the vehicle with our hands above our head.
Look at that. They have guns pulled on two American journalists for daring to ask questions on what's going on at the border. But it gets even better. Check it out.
And behind our backs, guns drawn, like we're criminals, while Washington, D.C. is supporting the cartels. And all while this is happening, we've got 60 illegals.
Check that out. So again, it was like I was telling you yesterday. Most of us around my age, we were raised to look at police one way and to think one way about them. Now, I can tell you from my own personal experiences with them that that's not always true, but I never, ever lumped them all into one category until the last few years. Because I'm sorry, I just don't care anymore. There is no excuse. You have a legal criminal alien standing right there on our side of the border while you are going after two American journalists for telling the story. You are not the good guys. You are the bad guys, and you should be charged with sedition.
Just standing by the wall, no problem. They can walk on in. Brandon just got added into this vehicle, and now he's actually in handcuffs.
Brought out of the car at gunpoint with handcuffs.
While our country's being invaded, we're down here exposing the invasion. They're more worried about us than they are about the 60 guys that are back behind us, that they're just letting stay here. We are sitting in a patrol car. We got Harry in another one. We got Jack in another one. And
for all of y'all who enjoy history, What does this tell you right here? Everything we've been taught or we've learned over time by ourselves, however you have learned it, doesn't really matter. When a country starts allowing criminals to break the law and arrest law abiding citizens for simply asking questions, what kind of country does that become?
Ben and the other one. This is insane. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units out here dealing with us that are just exposing what Joe Biden's doing. They don't care about them. They care about us. Unbelievable, guys. God bless law enforcement, but let's go, Brandon. This guy's got to go. This whole administration. Bad boys. What you gonna do? Oh, it's so good. All right, guys. So here we go. We're safe. We're free. We're not arrested. But guarantee one thing: CNN, MSNBC, Fox, they haven't done what we just did. No. Full experience. I love that. Full interactive experience. And we were gentlemen. We were gentlemen.
We comply.
If you haven't yet, would you kindly smash that like button? I have the live chat up if you'd like to talk with me, if you have any comments or questions, or just in case. So, Democrats, I've talked with a couple today. I've got to. I had somebody chatting with me on social media today who said that the border wasn't an invasion, but spelled it out to me in terms that if you go to a dictionary and look up the word invasion, that's exactly what it is. It's so unbelievable talking to some of these people, how they can literally spell it out for you, and in their heads they're telling themselves that that's not what that is, even though that's exactly what they're telling you. How do you get to that point? It really is something to see. Here, let's just go ahead and show you what was going on, just in case y'all haven't seen it yet. I'm sure you have, but here, let's check it out. That is Kate Bowman on TikTok. You should definitely go give her a follow. All right, let's hop over to Tucker. It's still along the same topics, though, guys, and this is what Stalin would have done. This is what, I hate even pointing to those things anymore. Because, am I actually going to reach the other side? I ask myself that a lot. And what I've come to realize is I'm not doing this for them. Not in any way, because I will never, ever, ever get through to one of them. I come on and do this show in hopes that the younger generation come across it and see it and start to pay more attention, especially to who you think you're voting for. Don't vote based on your emotions. Don't vote based on one issue. And that's all we can really hope, because no, I'm sorry. As far gone as the left is in this country, they're gone. It doesn't matter. Most of them have become complete communists and want what is happening. The others are so blind to what's going on, they think you and I are doing it. Even though they've been in complete control for the past going on 4 years. That's one journalist today that I've shown you that is getting harassed, arrested for doing their jobs in America in 2024. And you guys still think we're the bad guys. Here, let's just show you another one. Like Trump said, they're not after me, they're after you. And he's right. Absolutely right. Ah, dang it. This was the wrong one. Hold on. Here we go.
Among the many thousands of Americans who came to the Capitol building on January 6, 2021, were an awful lot of journalists, working journalists. And they were there because, among other things, it was a news story in progress. So they went to what we call cover the story. And the overwhelming majority of them worked for various organs of state media, the Associated Press, Reuters, the New York Times, the Washington Post, NBC News. And their job was to bolster whatever the people in charge claim is true. But there were also some independent journalists there that day. One of them was called Steve Baker. He now works for The Blaze. And he was there for the same reason everyone else is there, to watch the protest play out and to cover it. And like so many reporters that day, he eventually moved with the crowd inside the Capitol building, and he did so peacefully to cover the story. We're not guessing about this. He did not show up to break windows or poke anyone with a flagpole. He was there to cover it as a journalist. And we have footage of it, of Baker in the Capitol. We're going to put it up now. You can see he's not rioting or attacking police. He's standing there watching what's happening around him, covering the story. But because Steve Baker wasn't wise enough to get a job with the Washington Post or the New York Times or any other news outlet that works for the Biden administration, the FBI singled him out, not as a reporter, which he is, but as an insurrectionist. And then they charged him with crimes for being there. The charges include disruptive conduct and restricted building, parading, demonstrating, or picketing in the Capitol building. And they meant it. They weren't joking. And by the way, no one defended Steve Baker. None of the free press organizations that exist to defend working journalists stood up for him or said a word when Baker was arrested at the FBI office in Dallas. Here's video of Baker turning himself in. And as you can see, he was humiliated. They cuffed him behind his back, not because he posed a threat to anyone, but because they wanted to make the message crystal clear to everyone else. Only regime media will be treated as legitimate. Others will be crushed. Steve Baker joins us now to recount his experiences with the so-called justice system. Steve Baker, thank you so much for coming on.
Hey,
so
thanks,
when last,
Tucker, for having me.
Of course, when last we spoke about a year ago, there were hints this was coming. I'll just speak for myself as a middle-aged American man. I didn't really believe that they could arrest a journalist for covering a story. They did ultimately, as we just showed, arrest you. Were you as shocked as I was?
Probably not as shocked, because I had been dealing with this for about 2.5 years. I initially had a threat of prosecution going all the way back to November of 21, when my attorney received a email from an assistant U.S. attorney out of Philadelphia in which she said, your client, meaning me, is going to be arrested or is going to be charged within the week. And so after we did a bit of a media pushback, kind of an offensive against that threat, then we didn't hear from them again for 20 months. Now, after 20 months, I was starting to feel pretty good about it. During that interim time, I actually spoke with you. And then in August of last year, we received a grand jury subpoena. My attorney calls me back, says, all right, we've got a grand jury subpoena for your work, your actual videos that you took on January 6th. We complied yet again, and then we didn't hear from them for another 4 months. Well, during this time, I'm now working for The Blaze. And so I was actually in D.C. As a matter of fact, I was sitting in Representative Thomas Massey's office on December 14th, just this past December. And I get a text from my attorney, which is never a welcome thing, an unsolicited text from your attorney, which he said, I think this is the one, the big one. So I stepped out into the hallway there at the Rayburn building and called my attorney, and he said, they want you to self-surrender next week in my hometown of Raleigh, North Carolina. So the Blaze went into high gear. We did another media offensive, had millions of views of this story that we were telling about me having to self-surrender, and they backed off yet again. We got another call the next day from the FBI saying that they were going to put that off until sometime after Christmas. Once again, we didn't hear from them for 2 months until 2 weeks ago we got the notice that I was going to have to self-surrender this time, and this time it was for real. They actually said that it was only going to be for misdemeanor charges, the 4 basic misdemeanors that all the low-level January 6 offenders get. And because I happen to be working here in Dallas right now, where Blaze is headquarters, we decided to go ahead and do my self-surrender here at the FBI field office. So they didn't raid me. They didn't come out to my hotel or to the Blaze studios. We went down to the FBI field office and submitted myself. The interesting thing, Tucker, is that in the notice from the assistant U.S. attorney to my lead attorney, is that they wanted me to show up at the field office, and I quote, wearing shorts, t-shirt, and flip-flops. And I knew what that meant. That meant that they were probably going to change me into the orange jumpsuit and that I would then be leg shackled, because the plan was for the FBI to process me there at the field office, put me in a car, take me downtown to the courthouse where they would hand me over to the U.S. Marshals, and then I would wait in a cell until I was marched before the magistrate in front of the in front of the whole court. And so what ended up taking place is that my attorney negotiated with the 2 FBI agents in advance of me surrendering. I did not have to get into an orange jumpsuit. I showed up with a jacket, tie, slacks, dress shoes. They made me take off my shoelaces, my belt, and my tie, and then hand my jacket over to my attorney. Then they allowed me to wear my own shirt, my own trousers. They handcuffed me, fingerprinted me, marched me out to the car, which has been seen on camera. Took me to the courthouse, handed me over to the U.S. Marshals, and that's where they put the leg chains, the belt chain, belted my wrist, chained my wrist to my stomach, and then sat me in a jail cell with a meth dealer.
It's hard to believe any of that's real. A couple of questions. One, what's the name of the assistant U.S. attorney who did this?
Adam Dreher, out of D.C.
Yeah, Adam Dreher, I hope becomes famous. It's not a threat, but I think we deserve to know who is doing this. I mean, the state of Texas has more than 1 million illegal invaders in it right now. There are also an awful lot of murders in the state of Texas, and so this is what they're spending their time doing. I have to ask, did any of the FBI agents, we always hear that, the line agents are good guys, did any of the U.S. Marshals say to you, I'm embarrassed that I'm chaining you to your own stomach on a misdemeanor charge for something that isn't actually a crime? Did anyone betray any acknowledgement that this is like all a farce?
The 2 agents that processed me did not do that. I have received messages from retired whistleblowing agents all over the country apologizing to me for the behavior of the agency they were once proud of. I will tell you that while they were patting me down and going through the process, I did chat with them, and I asked them point blank. I said, "So how often do you do this to misdemeanor defendants?" The first time there was a little bit of mumbling, and then I kind of reiterated. I said, "Is it normal, or do you do process misdemeanor defendants on a regular basis?" As they're patting me down, they were dead silent, and of course, that's because we know the answer, Tucker.
Yeah. How about speak up, son? I pay your salary. Like, how dare you treat me this way as an American citizen? Seriously, they didn't answer your question.
Yeah, in the 100-year history of that agency, 100+ year history of that, they never processed misdemeanor defendants of any kind, particularly non-violent misdemeanor defendants. That's not what they do. I mean, every single FBI agent will tell you that when they joined the agency, they were told that they were on this planet and in this country to go after the whales, not the tiny little minnows.
But why don't they
like
quit?
me.
That's what I don't understand. I mean, I've always respected law enforcement on principle, and FBI agents, I guess, on principle. But if you're participating in a system that's just political tyranny, which is what it is, there's nothing justice related about any of this. It's Joe Biden putting his critics behind bars. How can you live with yourself? Like, isn't at a certain point it their responsibility too?
I've been analyzing that the answer to that question for quite some time now. And the only answer I have is that we're now into a generation of special agents and even special agents in charge that came in after the Patriot Act, that came in during the Obama administration, that came in after the politicization was overwhelming at the top in the leadership. And in fact, now in most of the field offices, those in charge are political operatives by and large, Tucker. And so that's the answer. Now, we'll tell you this, when I got to the courthouse, one of the U.S. Marshals processing me down there, he actually looked at my paperwork and he said point blank, "This is bullshit."
Yeah, well,
And
he's right.
I,
He's right, and good for him.
yeah, and I said, and then he said, and I will tell you what else is bullshit. He said, "We process a lot of these." He said, "You guys, you J6ers," and he said, "I think that former President Trump should be paying for every one of your legal fees."
Well, I agree with that too. I do agree with that.
Yeah.
And I think I strongly agree with that. So yeah, I mean, I think you should be afraid to behave like this if you're an FBI agent. I think you should be afraid of it. You can't act like that toward your fellow citizens, and you can't be the instrument of political tyranny and get away with it. So is there anyone to appeal to? So you work with Glenn Beck, who is really taken up, and good for him. He's a good man. Your cause.
Yeah.
But did anyone with official power step in to try and help you?
No one with official power. I mean, we've had quite a few people speak out on my behalf. We've had some congressmen speak out on my behalf. We've had current presidential nominee or nominee apparent, as well as those a couple of others that were running, Ramaswamy, DeSantis. And then in addition to that, we've had a host of other friendly media. But as you can probably surmise, and as you obviously stated earlier, nobody from the mainstream media has come forward yet and said, "Hey, we probably better stick up for this guy, even though he's not necessarily one of us, because pendulum swing."
No. Right.
And more importantly, Tucker, whether the pendulum swings or not, if it continues to swing far into the tyrannical left, they purge themselves eventually. If you've read a history book, they will take out the factions of the factions first.
Yes. Well, but such a thing as principle exists. I mean, some things are just wrong because they're wrong. Racial discrimination, putting people in prison because you don't like their political views. These are just wrong. It doesn't matter who they're happening to. They're just wrong on their own terms. Did part of you think, well, maybe I just won't participate? I've spent my whole life in this country, paid taxes, believed in the system. This is not justice. This is not the justice system. This is a tool of political repression. And maybe you just say, "Come and get me." I'm not playing along.
Yeah, well, for 2.5 years, for 2.5 years, I didn't have to set my alarm clock, because every morning at 6 o'clock I would wake up, because I've been following these cases. I've been following these trials. I've followed hundreds of these cases. There's over 1,350 of these arrests so far, all manner of defendants for January 6th. Most of them, of course, are nonviolent. And I've been following these cases, and believe it or not, far, far too many to even recount, of the simple misdemeanor defendants, including other independent journalists, have been SWAT raided at their home. Some of them have been imprisoned and did nothing more than walk around in the Capitol with a big camera rig, no parading, no picketing, no chanting USA, USA, or anything else of the nature. And they did their job professionally. And when they got back home, they were SWAT raided by 20 agents with red dots on their chest and on their wife and on their children, and then hauled off, convicted, sent to prison for months. Independent journalists.
It's beyond. So what happens next in your case?
I have in 2 days, I have a DC hearing. It's one that I can do by Zoom. It's simply not much more than a repeat of what we did in Dallas, because this was an out-of-district hearing. So now I've got to do it before a DC magistrate. So it's just basically the same thing without the leg change this time. And then we start the process of our strategy with my legal team to determine how we're going to proceed. And part of that process was learning who our judge was. And that's pretty interesting. I'm revealing that to you for the first time. Judge Christopher Cooper is also the exact same judge who held Catherine Herridge in contempt 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm very aware of that. It's unbelievable. Steve Baker, I appreciate your taking the time to update us on what.
So there you have it. Once you lose faith in the people who are supposed to be upholding the laws of our land, once you lose faith in those judges that are supposed to uphold the law of the land, what do you have? If we can't look to those experts that the left loves to scream and tell us we must trust, if we can't look to the police to protect the citizens over the criminal aliens breaking into this country, stealing people's homes, murdering, raping, and God knows what else, society will eventually just break down, right? I mean, that is their goal. The question really is, have we allowed it to go on too long, and is it already too late? I'm truly curious your thoughts on that. I truly believe over the next few months, we are about to see America become something we never imagined in our lifetime we would see. I still have faith in our Constitution, our Bill of Rights. But again, those are nothing if the people don't stand behind it. If we, the people, don't wake up, get over our petty differences that they love to constantly put in the limelight so we are fighting with one another, instead of realizing that you and me are just alike. No matter how much we disagree on politics, no matter what you think about me or you've been taught about me, I promise you, we're just alike. We just want to take care of our families. We want the opportunities that they are stealing from us and giving to others. Is that too much to ask? And why? Why on God's green earth are the lefties now celebrating giving criminal migrants, criminal aliens, Second Amendment rights? Did y'all see that case that it was actually on where the judge said that they could have this man, let's just put it this way. So, first off, he's in the country illegally. So, there's one law he's already broken. Second, he got a firearm. And no matter how you twist or spin that story, that's two laws that man has already broken. And the federal judge says, oh, it's okay. They are allowed to protect themselves. But they're still coming after yours and my way to protect ourselves. How much more are we willing to take before we start to speak up? Before we, and again, I know we're never going to reach the left. It's not going to happen. These people have been brainwashing them for a very long time, and it's obvious. I used to think I was, because I mean, again, I thought I was lefty, and then I started to pay attention, and I started to realize that everything they say on both sides is complete BS and lies. It's all to distract us, keep us focused on fighting with one another, while they tear down the one country that's in their way of their one world government. And they openly tell us about it. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't yet, will you please hit the like button, comment below, share this with your friends and family. It will help us get seen more. We truly appreciate all of you who come on and watch, whether you comment or not, whether you like or not, whether you share or not. We still appreciate you guys being here. I was supposed to do the Unseen Realm with Hector today, but both of our anniversaries have kind of got in the way of that. So we have put it off. I don't know if we're going to do it tomorrow or not. We may end up just go ahead and putting it off till next week. Give him time to do stuff with his family. So I may do something else later on it. I will keep you guys updated. Again, thank you so much for watching. You guys, a wonderful day. God bless. I'll keep pressing mute.